It's one small step for man.
Out for the out for the
Welcome back to Here's What's Going On podcast with me, AJ, and we're jumping right into the ABCs. AJ's book corner. We're reading The Self-Made Widow, Fate by Fabian Nietzsche, and it starts out with Derek Good rarely had pleasant dreams anymore. Between stress in work, stress at home, and stress about stress, he had been very stressed. His partnership track at the firm had been derailed. Even though his side project had generated much more revenue than he'd expected, now he was worried it would all blow up on him. Molly had been mad at him all summer, but he began to afraid to ask why. Henry hadn't made the premier soccer team, and Brett had started to display blatantly effeminate inclinations. For Derek, surprisingly, that had become a source of tremendous pride, though for Molly, unsurprisingly, a source of tremendous anxiety. All things considered, when Derek went to sleep that night, it was understandable that his subconscious would be working overtime. His dream started off in a quite pleasant manner. It was a perfect, crisp summer day, no kids in the house. He wondered if it was even his house, since there were empty glasses left on the kitchen island, and one couch pillow seemed slightly askew, which Molly would never allow. He opened the stainless steel refrigerator to find it completely filled with Kentucky bourbon barrel ale. He grabbed one, then a second, and strolled into the backyard. Curiously, Molly was digging a hole in the walk-in garden. More curiously, she was wearing a black string bikini. She hadn't worn a bikini since she'd gotten pregnant with their oldest, Henry. 38 and after 2 kids in a dream are out. She looked great. Runner's body, flat abs, and her breasts were pre-kids. It was his dream, so he rolled with it. Her body glistened with sweat, and her lean, tight legs were smeared with topsoil. She looked incredibly sexy. That was the thing about Molly. Cold as ice, but hot as hell. Derek shielded his eyes from the strong sun. The light was ridiculously bright. He asked, "What are you doing?" "Digging a hole," she said. "For what?" "What for?" She didn't respond, but when she thrust the spade into the ground again, Dave clutched at his chest. Molly dug into the ground again, and he collapsed to his knees. He tried to get her to stop, but the words came out garbled. She looked at him. She smiled. She went in for a third shovelful. He gasped for breath, but none came. Did people breathe in dreams? Derek wondered. Molly dug the shovel one more time with greater force. She slowly twisted the shaft so that the blade ground into the dirt with a sickening scrape. To Derek, it felt like her every move was twisting his chest into knots. He thought about the boys and how unfair this would be to them. He wished he could see them again, but the sun was too blinding. "Wow," he muttered. "That light is really bright." And then Derek Good died. Pretty good start, might I say there. Let's jump right into this episode, though. Have you ever felt the weight of the world was a little bit too much, or to be told toughen up? Well, today's episode is for you. We're going to dismantle the myth that Gen Z's struggles are a personal failure of toughness, unpack why modern life feels so overwhelming, and look at what real support actually looks like. We're talking about, if you haven't already guessed, resilience. So, we're basically kind of living in what they call this, the article talks about a perma-crisis. To understand why young people today are struggling, we first have to look at the world they're growing up in. Sociologists and psychologists often use the word perma-crisis, a state of permanent, ongoing crisis. Consider what fills the daily newsfeed. Extreme weather events, climate anxiety, social, political, and economic inequality, global conflicts and lingering post-pandemic pressures, cyberbullying, non-consensual image sharing, and pervasive online harassment. Now, older adults experience these things too, but for Gen Z, these crises haven't just popped up midway through their stable life. They've been the baseline background noise for almost their entire formative years. Calling someone fragile for reaching to a constantly destabilized world isn't accurate. It ignores the real impact of living through an uninterrupted sequence of historical bullshit. That's what I call it. And so, it's not just big global crises that cause burnout. Sometimes it's the sheer volume of daily micro choices. And I talk about this a lot. It's basically talking about decision fatigue and how it's it's a lot. Like, we're sold the idea that having endless options is the ultimate form of freedom. Want to pick a career, outfit, a show, watch, or someone to date, you have thousands of possibilities at your fingertips. But psychology actually shows that more choices often lead to paralysis. This is like the JAM study that they talk about in the article. Researchers set up tasting booth at a supermarket, and shoppers were offered 6 flavors of jam. 30% ended up buying a jar. When they were offered 24 flavors of jam, they ended up buying 3% in sales. So it just shows you the more options you have, the less likely you are to be able to make a decision. I think I talk about this in another podcast as well. But why? Because picking one option means turning down 23 others, which triggers the fear of missing out and the dread of future regret. All right, if you have to worry about if I made the right decision, all of that. Yeah, I think I talked about this on Monday's episode, where we talked about how basically the fact of making a decision, like, you should really only have two if it's this or that, and you have to decide. Yeah, I talked about this. Okay, so multiply that jam study by every single aspect of modern life on the internet. Gen Z is basically facing constant decision fatigue. When every choice feels weighted, every simple decision can leave you feeling completely stuck and exhausted. So, to make matters worse, young people are constantly told these are the best years of your life, enjoy them. And I'm like, bitch, how? Because, honestly, so this creates another issue, which is a massive expectation gap. The expectation is, for them, you should be thriving, carefree, and peaking in your late teens and 20s. The reality is, hormones are intense, big life transitions are terrifying, the world is on fucking fire. The reality is really like, and then you got the social media shit. People are like posting filtered photos with hashtags, like living my best life, and they're hiding the fact that they are overwhelmed and just bad off as everyone else. So realizing that youth is actually hard currently is hard for some people to do. And that doesn't have to be like it. And realize that it doesn't have to be a high point of your existence. Like, you could just exist, bro. Like, like, being young has always been tough, and right now it's very extremely challenging. So why is it that just being more resilient, and why it's continuing to miss the mark right now? And the solution simply is teaching Gen Z to be more resilient. Is it the solution to just teaching them, or should we be telling them something else? We're basically saying to them, we're putting the burden on their backs to be like, you gotta figure it out. The system isn't the problem, your coping mechanism is. Nah, the system is fucked, y'all. So basically, the put up or shut up thing, like, it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. And so, like, if you feel stuck as, like, a Gen Zer, like, validate your feelings. If you feel overwhelmed with all the global events, that's valid. Limit your decisions on what you can control and what you can't. And then, just reject the fact of thinking, like, I just have to work harder and try harder. No, a lot of stuff's working against everyone right now, including yourself. And you're just getting the whole shovel full of it. So just try to do the best you can. What I'm happy and grateful for, being able to hike and get out in nature. I saw a turtle today. It was amazing. He was just there. I just looked over and said, oh, hello. Because these two guys and their dogs had just ran past, and I don't know if they saw him or not. I don't think they did. They were moving really fast, and the dog probably didn't even notice either. But, like, that's the point of, like, being in nature, is, like, being able to stop and slow down and, like, see things and look at things and watch things change for me. That's what I really like about nature. And I always see such little things like this, the rabbits or the deer, or if it's like squirrels or birds or like turtles or like all kinds of stuff you see. Yeah, it's really dang. All right, the quote: "Nobody's coming to save you. Get up." Now, I know I just said, the resilience thing, yes, but also know that there's no one coming to save you. You're going to have to get yourself up, and you're going to have to start making decisions based off of how you want to try to navigate and progress in your life. Or if you don't, then I guess your decision is not to. But I think, nobody's coming to save you. You got to get yourself up, man. But before I go, be sure to check out the show notes. Also, check out my books on Amazon titled Poems to Cry to in the Dark and Love Letters Never Sent to Myself. Leave a 5-star rating. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I'm glad you're still here, and I hope you have the day you deserve. Bye.